What's up, everybody? Registered dietitian and owner and operator of Nice Nutrition here at Power Build Gym. Gonna be going through my leg workouts, specifically quads. Gonna demonstrate my execution cues, and you guys will also be able to watch me train. So hopefully you guys can get some good information out of this workout and take it home with you to try out on your training. Let's get to work. So the first exercise we're gonna do today is the lying leg curl. A couple cues that you wanna focus on with this is with your setup. You wanna get the knee joint in line with the axis here. For most people, that's gonna be most appropriate. Another cue that you wanna focus on too is having the hips pressed into the pad here. You don't want them to be coming up. You'll be losing contraction on your hamstrings here. So get nice and lined up here, nice and tight. Make sure the legs are straight. You don't wanna be externally rotating at all. You want the knees to be straight down, feet straight down and in alignment. So hips pressing into the pad here. I'm also pressing my knees to the pad too, and I'm really getting a nice stable environment. The first 15 degrees of this movement, when you come up, is gonna be primarily the gastroc. So what you wanna do is go real slow into the first 15 degrees, and then you can kind of go a little harder towards the rest of the movement here. And you really wanna control coming down, really get all those fibers. And I'm pulling my toes back as I'm curling too. So those are all the cues that are going through my head as I'm curling here. Really controlling the weight. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a couple feeder sets to get up to my working set weight. So I'm doing reps anywhere from like 5 to 8 here, just kind of getting warmed up until I get to my working set weight. So take some time in between as I work myself up. But yeah, those are the cues that you really wanna kind of focus on with this machine to really get the most output out of your hamstrings. You'll notice some big differences in growth over time once you get better at that skill. So I'm gonna get to work here. I do 2 working sets. The reason why I do 2 working sets is because I'm pretty efficient with contracting my muscle. So you could make the argument that, more beginners are gonna need more sets. Why? Well, because they don't have the skill of contracting the muscle as an experienced person would. So, the more experienced you are doing something, the less you need to get the same workload out of it. So usually for me, 2 sets is what I can recover from. And if you can recover from more and you're really skilled at it, then you could probably add more. But if you look at some of the top bodybuilders, they're really only doing 1 to 2 sets because they're extremely skilled at contracting their muscle tissue. So I'm gonna do my other feeder set here. Notice I'm really getting that big squeeze at the top too. Alright, last warm-up set. So pretty close to my working set weight. I'm gonna do about 8 to 12 reps. So rest up here. Get ready for the first set. So an important thing about this exercise too is when you're watching me, I wasn't swinging the weight, right? I was initiating with the target muscle first, then going. What that's gonna do is gonna generate more output in that muscle that you're looking for, and you're gonna be getting better growth over time instead of just swinging the weight back and forth. The goal is to challenge the muscle, not move weight for bodybuilding, so keep that in mind. All right, so second exercise here is gonna be the leg extension. For most people, what would be appropriate is lining the knee joint up with the access point, which is right here. For me, I got super long femurs, so I'm more comfortable a few inches above the axis here to get the utmost quad contraction that I'm looking for. So that's where I kind of hang around, but for most people, like I said, the access point would be appropriate. Another cue here that you want to do is part of your quad is gonna go into your hip. So to take that part out, you can even a little bit and really emphasize the meat portion of your quad here. So that's another thing you could do in terms of execution cues. The other one would be making sure that you're in alignment with your feet. You don't want to be externally rotating out. So keeping your feet in line here is important, and then really bracing down into the pad so you can get a lot of output out of this exercise. So I'm gonna go through a couple feeder sets here, and notice how I'm controlling the weight too. That's super important. No matter what I'm using, warm-ups or top sets, it's all about control, not just swinging weight around. All right, so we'll do a couple feeder sets here. I'll get to my two top sets. Sometimes I'll combine my feeder sets depending on how my fatigue feels, but so far I feel pretty good, so I'm gonna go for a couple feeders in a row here. So my legs are staying in line. And you don't have to set up either, like I was saying before. If you wanna lay back into the pad, that's fine too, but just if you wanted to more bias the meat of the quad, you could sit up. But so that's how I would set that up. So I'm all warm. Gonna head to my working set weight. We'll start with about 210. Rep ranges are gonna be from like 15 or 20. So see how I controlled that from point A to point B? There was no swinging. Everything was controlling every single inch of this movement, and that's how you're gonna get maximum output out of your quads. So, and even if you have to fix your form halfway through, like if you paid attention closer, you could see me correcting my leg placement because I was starting to externally rotate a little bit, which happens over time. So correct that, and then you get better output instead of just wasting some reps. More efficient. So don't be afraid to catch yourself in between the set and kind of correct the form. When I look at my watch, I'm looking for my heart rate to drop. So usually when I'm going hard on my top sets, I'm usually at anywhere between like 130 and 150 depending on the movement. So what I like to do is I like to bring that heart rate down to 120 or below, because that range for me allows me to get the most out of my next exercise. So I'm not necessarily counting in terms of minutes or seconds for my next set. I'm kind of looking at my heart rate just to see where I feel best at. And generally it's 120 or below. Sometimes it's 110 depending on what I need to do. But generally speaking, 115, 120, and I'll be ready to rock and roll for my next set. But if you wanted a time just for the purpose of numbers, and usually a couple minutes in between sets is appropriate, but you really just want to wait until you're fully recovered, your cardiovascular system, so you're ready to put the most output in, if the goal is muscle growth, right? Like if we were just trying to burn fat and just keep our heart rate up, you'd want to keep a faster pace here, but my goal is building muscle tissue, so I need to have the most amount of effort in each one of my sets. So you stand up, stretch my legs out, and get my next set here. So heart rate's down to 109 right now. Breath is caught pretty good. And a good way to catch your metabolic capacity and see how good it is how fast your heart rate can drop back down to baseline. So if it takes a while to get back down there, probably got some work to do to get yourself in better. All right, so for the hack squat, this is my favorite quad exercise. I prefer it over squatting just because of the ability to get more output out of the quads. I mean, you could set this exercise up for, you know, more of a different bias, but I particularly like it more for the quads. And why I like it better than the squat is because, like I said, you can get output better. You're really targeting that that muscle group that you're looking to hit, the quads, rather than the squat, which is going to involve different muscle groups. So you can really put in a lot to the one muscle here. What you want to do with your feet setup is as low as you can go while still being able to keep your feet down on the platform. Once you see your heels start to elevate up, you're down a little bit too far, and that also means that you have some poor ankle mobility. So for me, my ankle mobility isn't the greatest, so my feet are going to be a little higher than I prefer, but I can still get a lot of output out of it. You really want to get some good knee flexion here too. So I'll kind of show you where my feet are at. So my feet are a little more so on the little above the middle range. I'm about shoulder width apart. You can go close, you can go wide. Regardless, you'll still get good quad recruitment just as long as you have that lower foot placement as low as you can go while still keeping the heels down. That's just the key here. And then another cue that I learned that I really like is try almost like you're trying to scrape gum off your shoe. Really drive those feet up as you're coming down. So we want to initiate with the quad before we come down. So really start scraping that through, get the quads activated before you're even going down. And now you have the quads initiated as you go down, and you're getting way more contraction out of the quads rather than just going down without doing that. So really good quad contraction. See how my hamstring is touching my calf? That's proper knee flexion there. That's exactly what you want for this exercise. So we're gonna get to work. We're gonna do some feeder sets, get up to our working set weight. I'm gonna do 2 sets of about 8 to 12 reps. And I'll show you guys the proper tempo for that, and let's get to it. All right, so another cue here that I forgot to mention is keeping the pelvis back into the pad. So like I was saying before on the leg extension, you want to create like a really good stable environment, and when you have a stable environment, you're going to be able to get more output out of the working muscle that you're trying to target. So like I said, you want to scrape the pad with your feet, like you're trying to scrape gum off, and really drive your feet in there, and at the same time you're simultaneously driving your pelvis into the pad. Then you got both ends really stable while creating that knee flexion, and it's really going to generate a lot of force out of your quads. So that's what I'm going to be doing while I'm going through my first set here. And I'm going to take it nice and controlled too. Get the foot placement. Take your time getting your setup too. No need to rush it. It's not a race. You're here to challenge the muscle. Get that perfect foot position. Just driving both ends. Driving there, driving in here. I'm ready to rock and roll for that knee flexion. See how I'm controlling both of the ends? I'm not bouncing out of the hole. Both ends are extremely controlled, and I'm optimizing my tension there. Like I always say, the goal is to challenge the muscle, not move weight. Set number 1, good. All right, that's how that cookie crumbles. All right, so for my next exercise in this quad workout, we're gonna be doing a quad bias leg press. So again, just like the hack squat, we wanna have our feet as low as possible without having our heels come up. So, and as I said before, the better your ankle mobility, the lower you'll be able to go. This machine's kind of nice because it comes down on a good angle to where it really favors the quads very well. Another thing too, you really want to keep yourself anchored down into this seat. I mean, it's a common thing with everything, you know, stabilization, right? But this one, you really don't want to make sure your butt comes up. I sometimes like grabbing underneath my butt rather than the handles, but everybody has their preference. I'll usually do about a shoulder width stance, sometimes a little wider, little toes pointed out. Sometimes I'll play around with it too. Some weeks I'll change up my foot position depending what feels better. But I think we'll go with this for today. This feels really good. So I see my butt's coming up a little bit, so I'm gonna move my feet down a little bit actually here, so I can keep that butt anchored in. It's super important. There we go. So that's a good range for me right here. It's enough knee flexion for me, and it's about as far as I can comfortably go. So I think that'll be the spot that we'll. All right, now work the weight up now. Do our 2 working sets. So I'm pretty warm here, so I don't have to do as many feeder sets. I'm probably not even gonna do a feeder set. I might just put on a couple plates, do a couple reps, feel that out, and then decide which weight I want to use for my 20 reps. And the way I train is progressive overload, but you gotta remember too, progressive overload isn't just adding reps or sets. It's having better form one week, having better tempo. It can be done in a lot of different ways. So some people don't realize as well. All right, so I got my position that I want. Let's test out this weight. If it feels good, I'm just gonna go with it. If not, I'll go heavier. So yeah, this feels pretty challenging. I'll probably use this as my first set. Holy lightheaded. "20 reps done. Oh, legs are pretty fatigued already, so my quads are on fire. Feel really good. So when you're really efficient, I think, what did we do? We did 1, 2, 3, this is the 4th exercise. Quads are shot, and it's been not even an hour. When you're really efficient with training, you really don't have to be here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. You can get the workload done with less than you think. So if you're really keeping track of your heart rate and timing your sets good, and you're very efficient with contracting your muscle tissue, you know, 2 sets, even 1 hard working set is sufficient. But again, it all comes down to what you can recover from, like I said before. So a lot of factors go into this game. But I'll probably stay here for this weight for my last set. It's felt really good. I'm gonna try to get the same amount of reps, but history tells me I might be a little bit under just from a fatigue aspect, but the muscle will still get the workload. Whew. We got EAAs, creatine, carbohydrates in here. I use a scoop of Glycotrix, a scoop of Super Carb, half a scoop of Intrablast, and then 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. And then I'll fill it to 20 ounces, and then once I get down to 10, I'll refill it again. Once I get down to 10, I refill it again. Then this lasts me about the whole entire workout. It feels better when I fill it up like that because it's less carb load going in me at once. Utilize it better and less bloat. Not that the carbs in here are gonna bloat most people. The cluster dextrin digests very well, but the fact that I use a lot, and when you're high, sympathetically driven during legs, I find that it works better with my stomach when I sip it slower and dilute it more as I go. So it's just something that I've learned over the course of lots of hours in the gym. So heart rate's at 122 right now. Gonna give it another couple minutes. Usually when I'm hitting my last set on my bread and butters, take a longer rest period. And when I say bread and butters, it's more the bigger movements like leg press, hack squat, some kind of squat variation. Usually I can take less rest periods on like the extensions or curls. But just from a fatigue standpoint, these kind of beat you up a little bit more, which they would anybody. Walking lunges, I take these a lot slower than most people just because I want to initiate that quad like I was talking about throughout the training session. So take more of a shallow step, flex the quad, and then I come down. I almost have my knee coming to my other heel. Nice and slow. Try to get that knee flexion. Remember, this stuff isn't a race. Make sure those heels are staying down. And I'm pushing with my back foot into my front foot, forcing the pressure in my knee. So you see with my back foot, I'm pushing into the knee flexion as I come down. Holy shit. Finish strong here. Oh shit. All right. So it's a nice long, drawn out set, but that's the point of it, right? Like I'm not trying to rush my lunges. I'm here to challenge my quads. So that's how you generate better contractions and get more results, by really focusing on the contractions and not rushing the workout because you're trying to do more weight or you're too tired and you don't want to push past the pain. So gotta really think about this stuff. This stuff is a skill, something that you learn over time and get better at. And everybody's positioning with their movements, their steps are all gonna be different based on their body limb lengths and all those great things. So it's a lot of stuff you gotta learn to really get good at this stuff. All right, so I'm gonna finish today with standing calf raises. How I do my calf raises is I've combined some John Meadows philosophies in combination with Ben Pakulski. So if you don't know who those people are, I'd highly recommend looking them up. Probably the best educators in the business of bodybuilding, in my opinion. Some of the best, rather. Rest in peace, John Meadows, though. But so basically how I do this is I will be doing 10 to 15 reps, right? And they're all gonna be slow and controlled. And after my 15 reps, what I'm gonna do is give a 15-second stretch with the weight on my shoulders to really stretch that muscle. And then once I'm done the stretch, I'm gonna come over here and really try to get up on my tippy toes and burn out. So putting a little bit of combination between different calf workouts here into one, and it's a freaking killer. So let's get after it here. All right. So I like the weight right on the ball of my feet here, get a good spot, a good stretch. Nice and controlled here. Through. That's the most important part. Making sure you have good stability in your movements. Want the foot in the right position. My feet kind of slide off at times. Got a couple more here. One more. And we'll go to the stretch. 15 seconds. Got the timer up there. On my left, I also got on my stopwatch. So get 15 seconds. Another 5 seconds. 3, 4. There we go. Now we got the tippy toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the one set. I try to do 3 of these. Whew. See, that's a killer, as you can see. Whew. And the thing is with the calves, you know, we're on them for the most part of the day, so they take a beating to begin with, just from us walking and everyday life, so you really got to hit them hard to get a response out of them. At least most people do. And what I found was really emphasizing the stretch portion of this really helped my growth over time. In addition to using heavy weight and challenging them within the rep range of, 10 to 15 for the most part. Once in a while I'll go to 8 to 12 in that rep range, but generally speaking, 10 to 15 usually works good for me. And then same concept, I just wait till my heart rate gets down to an appropriate amount that I can have the best output from. Right now I'm at 122, usually under 120, around 120 like I said before is solid, so give myself another 30 seconds yet. Then I'll hit this last set here. Legs feel pretty good today, so I don't want to overdo it. We want to stimulate, not annihilate. So see where I have my positioning of my feet. I like to have them about like right here. It's kind of like where I like to put my bend at. See, right? Readjust. Man, calves are fried. Let's get that big long stretch. Whew. After you get a set in and you're on your second one, this burns. Holy smokes. That's what you want. You gotta fight that pain. Just make sure they're warm when you're doing the stretch. You don't want to tear anything. Whew. All right, now let's get the tippy toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and that's good. That's the leg workout today. Hope you guys took some good cues from that and you can apply it to your next training session. Give me some comments. My DMs are always open if you guys have any questions, and happy growing.